Hello and welcome to the big picture. A controversy has erupted over the applicability of nuclear liability law following an opinion by the Attorney General about it. It is not a secret that ever since India enacted the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act in 2010, after much discussion and deliberation, the US nuclear vendors have not been happy about it. The delay in working out any new deal to set up nuclear power reactors, especially with the US companies, is said to be their opposition to certain aspects of the liability law. Interestingly, the French, who are also big players in nuclear power sector, have said that they will work within the framework of the liability law. Meanwhile, the government has reiterated its commitment to the law and ruled out entering into any contract without establishing safety and techno-commercial viability. We will discuss today the impact of this law and the controversy surrounding it, and also how it impacts the Indian companies who are in nuclear power sector. To discuss this, I have with me Arundhati Ghosh, former ambassador and former leader of the Indian delegation to the CTBT conference, Dr. G. Balachandran, consulting fellow at the Institute for Defence Studies and Analysis, Nilotpal Basu, Central Committee member, CPIM, and a former MP, D. Raghunandan, Secretary of the Delhi Science Forum, and Ravi, Visvesvaraya, Sharada, Prasad, a technologist. Welcome to all of you, And let me go to Dr. Balachandran first. Dr. Balachandran, this whole controversy, how do you see it? Is there, are there attempts to bypass this liability law?
Look, there's no question of bypassing the liability law. The question is this: how do we manage two contradicting positions? One, giving the NPCL the right of recourse, yet at the same time making sure. You see, the problem is this right of recourse that here Indian law is unique to Indian law. It is not applicable in any other liability law in any other country in respect of civil nuclear damage. Now, a nuclear power plant has got a life of 50, 40, 50 years, and the damage could be any amount.
Right.
It's very unlikely that a foreign supplier, in this instance, would like to carry an unlimited liability for an unlimited period of time,
right,
for which they have been very reluctant to enter into a contract with India.
Right.
And this is not only true of the Americans. The French, for all that they say, and the French usually speak with a double tongue. They speak something here in saying that we'll work with the law, and I do not know what they say. The Russians, as you know, they are ready with coup de Grande 3 and they have not done it.
Right.
So no foreign supplier is at the moment willing to enter into a contract with NPCL. How do you resolve this? That is the issue. There is no question of bypassing the law. Indian law cannot be changed. India is a sovereign country. The Indian Parliament is sovereign. How do we work within the Indian law, yet at the same time address some of the legitimate concerns of the foreign and Indian manufacturers? Please understand.
Yes.
No Indian supplier of nuclear power plant is at the time willing to supply anything to NPCIL.
Right.
Therefore, unless this matter is resolved, the future of nuclear power in India is dead. So we have to see how we can do that, and hopefully we can find a way out. So I do not see anybody trying to circumvent the Indian law. I do not see anybody trying to cheat anybody. What I am trying to see is people are trying to figure out how to solve the problem in a rational manner, taking into account the need for nuclear power in India. Of course, those who oppose nuclear power in India say will be very happy, and they say it is all for the good. First one has to make a call as to the future of nuclear power in India, and then say, how do I address this question?
Okay. Arundhati Ghosh, you think that the government of India and the US, French and Russian authorities, how do you circumvent this problem?
Well, I think at the moment, it is not a question of circumventing a problem. We have a law, and as Dr. Balachandra has just said, the question of changing that law does not arise.
Right.
Now, what seems to have happened is that some time ago, the Department of Atomic Energy had asked the AG,
yes,
in the context of the agreement with the Russians, about the interpretation of 17A
Right.
of the law.
Right.
And this is exactly what the AG had said at that time, that it is up to the operator to include or not include the issue of right of recourse
Right.
within the contract.
Right.
And that is a legal position.
Right.
He seems to have just reiterated that in this particular case as well. So I don't think anything has moved to create issues such as, is India diluting the law?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think that this is an interpretation given by the AG to the DAE.
Right.
Now, there is to be a negotiation between the NPCIL and the supplier,
Right.
whether Indian or foreign, whether Westinghouse or Areva or whoever it is.
Absolutely.
There has to be a
Okay.
negotiation.
Okay. Nilotpal, where is the controversy here? So just now, just about 20 minutes back, the Department of Atomic Energy has issued a statement, and it has said that there is no way it's going to do anything which is against the law or bypassing the law or anything like that. It says that any preliminary contract, it will be done only with the approval of the Atomic Energy Commission, the Government of India, and any contract will be, if approved, will not bind NPCIL to enter into a contract with Westinghouse for the supply of reactors without establishing safety and techno-commercial viability. So this statement which has just been issued by the Department of Atomic Energy, you think will clear the air about this entire controversy?
Far from it, because the statement itself is not even worth the paper on which it is released.
Why do you say so?
Because the government's credibility is so suspect on this matter. You see, this whole Westinghouse business came up when Shiv Shankar Menon gave an undertaking to the Americans in the run-up to the Indo-US nuclear accord that we will buy $10 billion of worth nuclear power equipments from United States to seal the issue. And you see the pusillanimity of the government, there was an agreement that we will be given the waiver from the NSG that we do not have to put our signature on the NPT to access nuclear material, but that has not happened. On the contrary, there has been pressure. Then when this bill was actually being drafted by the parliament and it was before the standing committee was very categorical. The 17B, there were a lot of pressures on different parties to dilute at that stage itself. And the parliament had resisted that pressure, and even the ruling party had to fall in line. And then they are doing this. So I think nobody is going to take the government seriously, and I really pity them. Given today's condition, if somebody comes under US pressure and goes even to the extent of thinking that by diluting a sovereign law and by infringing on the rights of a sovereign parliament, they are going to, Dr. Balachandran, I have great respect for him, but the way he put it, that as if heavens will fall on India if private investors are not there for our nuclear power, I think he is actually going contrary to the dominating global trend today, when most of the countries who were earlier heavily dependent on nuclear power are actually opting out of that.
Okay. Dr. Balachandran, would you like to react to what Nilotpal said quickly before I go to Mr. Raghunandan?
Oh, sure. Look, if Dr. Basu says that we don't need nuclear power in India, that's quite all right. Look, I'm not saying we should have, we should not. All that I'm saying is this. If we feel nuclear power is our future in India and we need it, then something needs to be done. Now, if you don't want it, then don't do anything. Look, we are a sovereign country. They are a sovereign country. They choose not to supply. They won't supply. That's all. And the Indian suppliers will not supply either. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Raghunandan, what Nilotpal made was very interesting. Just one towards the end, he said that private. Why should we indulge in private? Is the Indian companies capable of supplying to whatever plans we have for the nuclear power in the?
Well, there's two aspects to that. One is, of course, Indian companies are capable of doing it. We have been doing it all these years.
During all those periods of sanction.
All these years, except for the odd Russian reactors that we've had all our plants are supplied by Indian suppliers. So there's no problem there. The question right now is, I think, two major questions. One is, there is fairly clearly some kind of quid pro quo in terms of the Indo-US nuclear deal.
Right.
The question is, how far is the government going to go in order to fulfill what it sees as its side of the bargain?
Right.
That is one question, and Nilotpal Basu was addressing that. The second aspect of it, which bothers me, is people are talking about the rights or the concerns of the suppliers and the problem of the operators.
Right.
What about the concerns of the people? That if there is an accident, as has happened, let's say, with the Bhopal gas tragedy, who is to bear the responsibility and who is to bear the liability?
No,
that is the question.
Sorry, please clarify this.
Yes.
The present law says that 5 years, is the liability there for 5 years? Isn't it?
See, the question is this. Is there to be a liability on the part of the supplier for any defect in their equipment or not?
Right.
That is the real
And
question.
for how, the
and for
period?
and for how long? So the question today is, what has happened in Fukushima, for example, in Japan, is Japan's run up a bill of $100 billion. Is any power plant worth the risk of paying that much or spending that much money in case of an accident? And if there is to be a liability, is any insurance company willing to come forward and say, whether it's to the supplier, whether it's to the operator, whether it's to government, is there an insurance company which today is prepared to say, we will insure you for this amount? If not, then it raises a very big question mark on the technology itself.
Ravi, you think that, he was talking of the insurance and things like that. From what I have been gathering, insurance, because of the insurance cost that at least the Westinghouse and the GE, which they were talking about, because of which the costs have gone up. The costs have gone up virtually by 50%. What was supposed to be some 60,000 crores has gone up to 92,000 crores. That proposal, one of the nuclear power plants in India. So is this the problem there? And even Indian companies are saying that we are not able to, get this kind of insurance for this thing. So where is this has this law become counterproductive?
No, it is actually, the problem arises because when Parliament had drafted Section 17 and modified it, you have modified Section 17 in such a way that it goes far beyond anything in the Vienna Convention and international business practice. So I largely agree with what Balachandran and Ambassador Ghosh had said, that no Indian company, whether it's Tata's or Larsen & Toubro or Walchand Hirachand, are willing to supply under the present liability regime. Also, what happens is the international practice is you never hold equipment suppliers liable beyond the warranty period, because it is always the operator who's responsible, because the operator will be buying equipment not just from Westinghouse or Areva. He is buying equipment from hundreds of pieces of equipment from hundreds of different manufacturers, most of whom are Indian. But you're buying a nuclear reactor core from one, you're buying control systems from another. Then there are the safety backup systems, diesel generators, cooling systems, valves, pipes. There are thousands and thousands of parts, and they all be integrated in such a way. So it's always the systems integrator and the plant operator who's liable, and each equipment manufacturer, of whom there are thousands, will just say, okay, here's my equipment, you test it, and I'll be liable for within the period of 5 years, which is a warranty period.
Right.
Because you're going to make changes to the equipment, there'll be installation, you're going to keep upgrading your software every week. You do a software upgrade, maintenance. The equipment manufacturer can always turn around and say, look, you didn't maintain the equipment correctly, or you made changes to my equipment, or you installed software which is incompatible with my hardware. And this is what happens. Many times when you change the hardware, the software which is running on it will cease to work as it should, or when you make software upgrades, you have inadvertently
all this can lead to damage.
Yeah, all this can lead to damage, which is why it is always the systems integrator or the operator who's held liable, and not The manufacturer. The manufacturer will just say, okay,
Raghunandan, I want you to, no, because he has a very interesting,
now,
very
what is
solid
happening
point.
in insurance, the insurance companies also, like in the US Act, they have to have a certain amount of insurance which they pool, and actually it's a reverse insurance.
Right.
Now, in India also, they have to carry that amount of insurance. And what I wanted to say when he talked about the needs of the consumer is actually this 1,500 crores is the no-fault insurance. Because clause 48 of the Liability Act says that this doesn't exempt the operator from being any other civil or criminal actions.
Liability.
Okay, so if the negligence of the operator, that's NPCL, is proved, they can have unlimited damage. Okay, or if you prove that the equipment manufacturer supplied something which was so defective, they have unlimited damage to the extent.
Yes.
Yeah, but
You know,
that's
they're always
precisely-
like,
but that's precisely
that
what
has to be
is-
proved in the court of law.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay,
But
That
that's
has to be
precisely-
proved in the court of law.
Yeah, but that-
Absolutely.
It is-
yeah, but that's precisely
the
what
act-
is
It
under-
has to be approved in the court of law. Yes,
But
Mr.
the
No, but let
the act
but
is
that is
actually meant to
precisely-
avoid a Bhopal-like situation, because in Bhopal, it took years and years to get compensation, and that too in the court of
that
law.
is- but
Now,
that is
here,
precisely
here
what-
is-
One second,
here
let
is
him-
relaxed.
let him
Look at
please
the
respond
money
to that.
immediately.
let
That is
Raghunandan
precisely
respond.
what is under discussion on Article 17 now is if there is a design defect.
Yes.
Where is the liability and how is that going to be compensated?
If the- no,
See,
no.
the question
One
is not
second.
whether during the course of the operation.
I'll come to you, Dr. Balachandran.
During the course of the operation, if there is an operational error, if there is a maintenance problem, those are not subjects under discussion.
If the-
here.
no,
That
you're
is
talking
why
of the
I
design defect.
See, that is why I use the analogy of the Bhopal gas disaster. The problem today is we know that there was a defect in terms of design in the plant supplied by Carbide, but we were not able to hold them liable, and that is the
but
liability that we have.
Carbide was
one
operator,
second,
not the
Ravi, let me
manufacturer.
get Dr. Balachandran on this. Dr. Balachandran, you heard both Ravi, Prasad and Dr. Raghunandan. You know, with Raghunandan says that if there is a design defect, that's where the problem lies. You also wanted to react to something else also. You please address this issue also.
Now look, I come to the basic question. From what Dr. Raghunath said, since the
Raghunandan.
damage will be so much and it will be unbearable by anybody, so the natural conclusion is this: we don't need any nuclear power plant.
Right.
That's fine with me. But you cannot have your cake and eat it too. If you want to have your nuclear power plant, somebody has to give you the plan. Look, the Indian companies had an exemption from liability till the nuclear liability bill was passed. The contract explicitly stated that the Indian suppliers will not be held for any liability at all. Now they do not want to supply under the new conditions. So that means there won't be any indigenous reactors.
Well,
There won't be
Nilot-
any foreign reactors as well, because they will not supply either. So please understand, therefore, either we make a choice here that we don't need nuclear power plant, then it's fine. But you cannot say, I want nuclear power plant, I will have this law and this fellow must supply it to me. If you feel so much, start your own company and supply.
Okay.
The Indians are not going to supply, the foreigners are going to supply, so where is NPCL going to get the reactors? Unless you address this question, I mean, there's no point in discussing here, will this happen? And as far as the liability goes,
Yes,
what
Dr.
we
Balachandran,
suggested
Dr.
is
Balachandran, I'll
compensated.
come back. I'll come back to you. Let me get Nilotpal in on this. Nilotpal, there is the question before you, and people who people like you. Do you want nuclear power or not? Is this at this stage? Can we say that we'll abandon all our nuclear power ambitions and we will? We will resort to other means of other sources of power. We don't want. Is that what we can? Is that what it is heading towards?
I think, Girish, let us be very, very clear that the left parties, when this whole question of the Indo-US nuclear accord came up, had taken a very categorical position that we are not opposed to nuclear power per se.
Okay.
But at the same time, the conditions under which this agreement was being entered into and the serious threat of being blackmailed into doing something which we would be otherwise not willing to do was
Nilotpal,
the real issue.
Nilotpal,
And
I'm
now-
sorry. I just have Nilotpal. 1 minute, please. Now all those fears.
And most of the
One second,
countries
one second,
precisely-
Nilotpal. I have a question, please. now all those fears which you expressed just now have been, does not exist now, because we have come out with this nuclear liability bill. It is on lines on which you people said it has to be. Now what? If this bill is going to become an obstruction towards bringing any technology or any vendors coming into this country, including the domestic vendors, then what do we do?
I think I have an answer to Dr. Balachandran's question and your question as well. You see, the risk involved, if it is not to be borne by the people, it has to be borne by somebody. And that is why the parliament in its wisdom passed the law. And now, because this is not a phenomena which is specific to India, but it has become a global question, therefore most of the countries are actually walking out of production of nuclear power. That is precisely what we are trying. Now the difficulties have got compounded, and they are manifold. After Fukushima Daiichi, what happened? Because nobody can have a safety coverage for a tsunami.
Okay, Ravi, the Russia, as far as Kudankulam is concerned, I want Raghunandan, you also to, as far as Kudankulam is concerned, 3 and 4, Russia has refused to be under this act. How did it happen? And first, let me get Raghunandan in on this.
Right now, I think the problem is one of competitive discussions.
Right.
So Russia is playing a wait and watch game to see what happens between India and the Americans.
Yes.
And based on that, they will take their decision, because they think there is something here. They don't want to be bound by some conditions which they think will get overturned if India has a different kind of a deal with the Americans. So I think that is what is at play on this. Nobody is really sure how this is going to play out. As far as the parties are concerned.
Before I come to Ravi, I want to go to Arundhati Ghosh. Arundhati Ghosh, is that the situation as far as Russians are concerned? And earlier Balachandran said that the French talk one thing and do something else, but the French ambassador is on record saying that we will abide by the nuclear liability bill.
Yes, but I don't see, I think we are replaying a debate which is over and done with.
We thought it was over and done with. Obviously it's not.
We have a law. That law exists. What has happened today is it has come out in the open that though it had come out in Parliament, nobody took notice of it, that the AG has given an interpretation to the law. Now, that is an interpretation which has been given to the DAE.
Right.
Whether that interpretation is accepted or not,
apparently it
I
is not,
certainly don't know.
No, apparently it's not accepted, because if I go by from whatever I can understand from the
So
statement
what
which has
are we
been given
talking about?
today, just about half an hour back, issued by the Department of Atomic Energy, from what I can read, apparently what they are saying is they are not going by the Attorney General's opinion.
So then what are we arguing about?
No, what are we arguing about, Nilotpal?
I think we are arguing about, what is the risk involved in really creating a nuclear power. It is not whether the left likes it or not, whether Manmohan Singh likes it or not, whether Bhanavati likes it or not. What is the global situation in terms of exercising that choice? I think countries all over the world, they are exercising their choice in favor of opting out of nuclear power. That is the situation. And the other thing is you refer to Bhanavati, and who is the AG. He has become now really notorious, and whenever you smell scam, his name crops up.
Nilotpal, we will not discuss the AG. Yes, Mr. Raghunandan.
Without discussing the AG,
yes.
What
he says is
the controversy has arisen because it has given rise to suspicion that there are moves afoot to somehow bypass the existing law in order to provide a quid pro quo to the Americans.
The quid pro quo.
That's what is being...
Yes, Arundhati, you wanted to react very quickly. We are running out of time. The controversy has erupted because of the suspicion that a quid pro quo is being worked out.
Whose suspicion? But apart from that, I'm not going to get into that. No,
Right.
please. The point I wish to make very briefly is that we've had this debate in your last, one
Yes.
of your earlier
Right.
discussions.
Right.
The fact that Germany has taken a decision about phasing out its nuclear power has
Japan.
not affected France,
Yes.
has not affected Japan under Shinzo Abe, has in fact does not reflect the United States state of industry, does not impact on China, who is building 30 more nuclear power. So I
Okay.
think we should have our facts right.
Okay.
Closed its last
Japan has
nuclear
closed its
reactor.
last.
Look,
That's what
can
we
I
discussed
come in
last.
for just a second?
Dr. Balachandran, last words to you. You know, you had. I was reading one of your articles written
Last
about
word,
2-3
no.
years. Dr.
What?
Balachandran, this question is addressed to you. You had written an article 2-3 years back, which saying
Just
that
a very short period.
Yes.
All the three,
But Dr. Balachandran, please, I'm still putting my question. My question is there a danger of this law becoming counterproductive?
Yes.
no, it is, let me put it is not, that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
Look, all these things can be reconciled in a very civilized manner, that is the Indian law, the NPCIL exercising the right of recourse, and the foreign companies not feeling an unlimited damage. But the three countries are different. United States is vocal, it says what it wants.
Right.
France doesn't say anything, it writes on the coattails of others. The ambassador, if you ask him point blank, if you work with the law, why has Areva not signed, he'll give you hundreds of reasons, he'll hum and hum, give you coffee, tea, cake, but will not answer it. So don't trust him. As far as the Russians are concerned, we had an agreement with the Russians. We signed an intergovernmental agreement absolving them from all liability for 3 and 4. Now we are saying that we will go back on that agreement, and we are very quite rightly miffed.
Okay.
India does not like other countries to apply law ex parte. The Russians don't like it either. These three countries are different.
Okay. Ravi, you want to very quickly,
Yes.
you think this law needs any changes?
Oh yeah,
as it
totally.
exists?
I think it's totally counterproductive because all these extra clauses that had been put in 17B in 2010 by Parliament are totally against international business practice
Okay.
and against the Vienna Convention. Now, I also want to say, if you look at the wording,
Quickly.
yeah, the strict legal wording of 17, the A, B, the three clauses of B and C, is it gives a right of recourse of the operator, NPCIL, against the equipment manufacturer, but it doesn't say it is mandatory for the operator to include this right of recourse in its contract with the equipment supplier.
So that's what the Attorney General
so
says.
I agree with
but
Attorney General.
apparently,
It says-
but going by the statement,
Yeah.
you know, we'll have to look at the statement
Yeah,
more carefully.
you look at the
But
nitty-gritty
anyway, we
of
are
the
completely run
legalese.
out of time.
But yeah,
we
but I
completely
think
run out of
Attorney
time. Sorry,
General is right.
we will have to
Girish,
wait
but
and
the
see how.
Russian question is different.
Parliament,
Okay.
Parliament gives him the
Completely run out of time. Sorry.
not to exercise
Parliament's
that right.
sovereignty cannot be challenged.
We will have to wait and watch how this will play out, because very soon the Prime Minister is visiting United States, and apparently all that is being done to sign a contract there. But in the meantime, how it will all play out, we'll wait and watch. Thanks to all my guests, Dr. Balachandran, Arundhati, Ghosh, Nilotpal, Basu, Raghunandan and Ravi, Visvesvaraya, Prasad. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on Big Picture same time tomorrow.